Hello, Sparrows. Good day to you, Sparrows. What's fabulous with you today? Of course, I am Valerie Miller of TVM, the Valerie Miller Double Fold. This very moment, we have opportunity to change. And of course, it's matters of the heart Monday, and we have second time appearing Lennox Armstrong with us tonight. And of course, he's out of Atlanta. He's a vocalist, he's a songwriter, he's a producer, he's all of those fabulous things that it takes to create magical music that stems the depths of our hearts when we need something that's going to guide us in spaces that we need that very moment, right? So he is that guy. And of course, every week we are coming from How I Became Fabulous and A Lady All the Time. And the platform is lyrics and literature, and how we take an author standpoint and bridge it together with an artist standpoint to serve you juice information that's going to help you in your lives, that's going to give you some insight and some focus on self so you can become the greatest versions of yourself in love, because without love, we are absolutely nothing. Lennox Armstrong, welcome to the house. How are you today?
Hey, Valerie. I'm wonderful. How are you doing?
Fabulous. Thank you for asking. Welcome to the space. Welcome to the Sparrow house. And I really appreciate you coming in so we can talk on some love and some love lessons and all of that juiciness, right?
And we're gonna have a good time at it today.
We're gonna have such a grand time. Part two.
You know, when you say lyrics and literature, I was just thinking when you said fabulous, I was like, I don't think guys use the word fabulous that much,
Some do, because you guys are fabulous also. It's all in how you look at the word fabulous. It's not glitz and glam. It's just an amazing, impeccable person.
Okay, I'm with you 100% then. Let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
I'm flexible.
We have to redefine some things of what most people have views of, because fabulous, like writing How I Became Fabulous. Most guys thought that the book was for women until they read it. And I said, no, it's not just for women. It's for everyone who is in a fabulous space. I use that as one word that describes me. So whatever your word is, how I became amazing, how I became music, how I became whatever, that defines Lennox is what you use, right?
I got you. You got me? Yes, 100%.
Okay. Now, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Now, there's been some things that I've shared on the timeline. I've shared your music. I've shared your videos, all of that good stuff. But it's so much more to Lennox Armstrong than what you see from the naked eye. Who is the guy behind the camera, the guy behind the microphone?
That guy is a husband. He's a father. I'm friend and frat. My frat brothers are members of Kappa Alpha Psi. I am a teacher and a student. Like, I watch it, I listen, and I learn. I try to apply my life experiences, and they often come out in my work because, I'm a growing and evolving entity. And then I'm noticing that we have a shared story, humans, all of us.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with independent cultures. There are a lot about the human experience that's transient, that moves between heart to heart, and that's what my songs are about.
They're beautiful songs.
Thank you.
I have listened to your new release. I've sampled that and said, you know what? This is very interesting. And it's so much that comes from the lyrics of songs when you're sharing your heart and the different experiences you've been in life, and how you transition that to give as a gift to someone else that's on the other end of receiving and hearing that. Because it's important when you can resonate with that to some level. And like you said, it's definitely that a human experience.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. It's a oneness.
If you've loved, lost, hope, recovered, you know, there's something in there for everybody. I'm sure the same goes with, with writing.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Nice.
And, because you can kind of pick and choose what you'd like to share. However, if you can be transparent in it, then you can really share the depths of your heart.
And it's hard from the vantage point of a lyricist.
Yeah.
It's very difficult because the life experience is not one that's often lived alone, right? Exactly. And so, some of the things that I've experienced, have been hurt, that has been caused by somebody or caused by me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you come to saying being transparent, you've got to tell that story. And if you can be fair, you got to tell the story so it doesn't tilt the story to you being the hero all the day. Because sometimes I'm not the hero. Sometimes, unfortunately, I was the unwitting villain, because of my lack of life experience and responsibility. But as I kind of go back through the chapters of my life, I listen and I learn. I'm writing this project called Music Therapy that comes out in February.
Love it.
And music therapy is really that for me. As I was writing, I was uncovering things that I thought were done years ago.
Of course.
I mean, many years ago. But some kind of way, they're still in my head, they're still in my heart, they're still kind of, like a rock skimming the top of the water. Like, the rock is going to go in there eventually. You skipping across in the beginning, but it's going to sink at some point. So now, I've been able to kind of reach inside and let it out because I found a love where it's safe for me. It's safe for me to have been able to have lived those experiences and know that I don't have to repeat them.
Thank God. Yeah.
Not only because of what she brings, but because of what I've learned.
Bingo.
And so it's been an important process for me. And I've got writing relationships and music relationships that have lasted, now decades.
Right.
And life is good, and we're all at a place where we're collaborating and doing our things. So we're hoping you guys are going to love the music as well.
No doubt it's going to be loved. I loved every track, every single track on Music Therapy, because it is such truth and what you're sharing. There was some transparency, maybe not everything, because you said you don't want to imbalance the scales. You have to be honest and, truthful, just have integrity in what you're sharing.
Listen, in the song that's the next release called Can I Be Honest, I talk about honesty as an afterthought. Right? As a pre-thought, you can be as honest as you're able to be based on life experience and based on what that person is willing to absorb as part of your honesty.
Right.
But I've also learned, honesty is like a sharp sword in a room full of toddlers. You just don't bring down honesty, without recognizing that there could be collateral damage.
Ooh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with that. But in this song, I'm singing, and I'm reflecting like, wow, here's the aftermath of what happened in our lives, and I don't necessarily need to place blame. I just need to acknowledge. And in this particular song, I'm acknowledging from my vantage point. Exactly. Here's what I did. Yes. Here's what I've learned. And here's what I want to share with you to let you know that while it didn't turn out the way we could have, meaning we didn't last.
Right.
But there was a great love. There was a great hope. And, with the damage, I've become something else,
Beautiful.
And yeah. It's, it takes, when I'm telling you about, I hear my own song sometimes. It's like, wow. Man, just breathe, Jack. Breathe. I'll be okay. Yeah.
It's a fact. It's a fact. Taking ownership. And as we take ownership, we're evolving at the same time. And it's a necessity that we go through these things in order to grow. Because if we don't have something to break our hearts or something that we've done to hurt others and have to go back and retract, apologize, and be responsible in that space, how else are we going to become? It's
And
no
listen,
way.
I can tell you, we could stop, we could think about it ahead of time. Listen,
Yes.
you know, I don't need to learn any other hard rules, right? At this point, Valerie, like, think about it.
Yes.
If you know, I used to play this game with my friends growing up, a guy named Basil and Alan. We used to play the game called the What If game, right? As young Black men, we would ask each other, we would first say, we should do such and such. And then we go, oh, what if it doesn't turn out right? What is the worst that could happen? And when I tell you that saved us from so many daggone things, because, you know, the three of us would kind of pull up all the worst scenarios like, this not work, right? So in kind, now when I think about where I am in my life and what I want for my life, I don't cause the problem to have to then go back and apologize for it. Off the game, right? So now I'm able to just pause, like, listen, I know it'll break her heart if I do X. I'm not doing X, right? And I've gotten to that point, Val, because I've learned to love selfishly. Now, when I first say that, everybody goes, selfishly? Well, who wants to love you if you want to love selfishly?
No, you better love you first, man.
Well, because I love selfishly, I don't want to break my own heart.
Exactly.
Right. So if I love you and we're vibing and life is good and I do something to harm you, right? You're going to take your love from me.
Yeah.
That's going to break my heart.
Absolutely.
Right. So I've learned to be selfish and not break my own heart.
Yes.
You know, and I practice that, and it's working for me right now.
Continue what works for you, because it's going to be different for every individual.
Right.
You know, and those experiences pass where you said, can I be honest? And I'm looking forward to hearing that track again. But at the same time, reliving some things, because you can do some things subconscious and not even realizing that you're doing it. When you realize that you have, then that's the right thing to do. And because I've hurt someone, it was not intentional. And by them sharing that I did, then I can apologize, you know, because I may be going on in life and never knowing. Years have passed. This person has been carrying this around and I not know it. And then when I do learn of it, it's like, oh my gosh, because we only know what's happening in the space of our own lives all the time. I know with the subtitle and just 3 bullet points that I use on my book, my layers, my stories, my song. So I can only tell my story from my point of view, how I felt, what I took away from that. And it's going to be 100% different from the person on the other end that I may be referring to. Because I know it was one individual that had a complete spiral out when my book came out. When my book released and he read it, he lost everything here. So it was a situation because of the way he viewed and the way I viewed. And I said, wait, this is my story, my song, how I felt. You have to respect me in that space, even though you see differently. So looking at that and how it is tough when writing, because you still have to think about the person on the receiving end or the individuals that you may be talking about, because they're going to see it, they're going to read it, they're going to hear it, and automatically know you're talking about them, even though nobody else in the world knows it. They feel they do.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I remember when I wrote this song, I was worried about how my she wasn't my wife yet, but I was worried about how she was going to feel about me telling this story from the vantage point of a love that's no longer my primary focus. I've been fortunate enough to be able to maintain a great relationship with my son's mom. And I love her still. We're not in love, but I was worried, you know, as a writer, like I'm about to say some real emotional stuff here, and you know, and I didn't want my present wife to feel like I was longing to go back to that situation.
Right.
What ended up happening is I was living through it in my mind and saying, you know what? I need to get this off my heart. It was necessary for me. You know, and the reason I titled the project Music Therapy is because when I was unhappy, Val, I could hear no music, right? It wasn't music block. It was worse than that. It was, you know, I tend to feel like, you know, I am the antenna and not necessarily the source, right? So the source comes from God, and he gives me these melodies and songs because I can't explain it any other way. But my antenna was down, packed away, you know, in another country, and I was living where I was, and I couldn't receive anything when I was unhappy.
No.
Right? And so a friend of mine named Dennis Johnson, who lives here in Atlanta, who's also a musician, a friend of mine, a wonderful producer. When I moved to Atlanta, called me and was like, dude, where are you? Where you been? Like, let's start writing again, you know? And it just, I didn't know all the stuff was still there. Val wasn't even thinking music. Like, to be in my life and for me not to think music, to think, create, to think, it's incredible. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I just definitely didn't want to, you know, hurt her sensibilities, but I had to let this story go because it's not just my story. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's important to share because I'm learning that people relate to it.
Absolutely.
You know, they've lived their own hurts. You know what I mean? And I think that's the common bond there.
It is a common bond, and not everyone is in the space to where they want to share their hurts. They may not even want to talk about it. And talking helps a lot. It's just being mindful of who you're talking to that can actually help you in that space. If you have to fear on facts of what you're sharing isn't going to remain where you're sharing it, then that's something that's of concern. And we've all had those situations where we've shared something and it didn't remain private. However, at the same time, I've learned that facing whatever the issues are, that's how I'm growing. Standing true in my authenticity and being the voice, and not only for myself, but for others as well. And it doesn't matter if it's in that relationship, it's because your marriage ended. You have to look at it for what it is, because a lot of people will stay in those situations because of the outcomes of what others might say or what others might think. Over time, I've learned I really don't care because I have to think about what's best for me. And when you're talking about selfishly, you know, you have to look at yourself from the inside. What is benefiting your life? We don't know how much of it we have. Make sure every day of it is happy and work on those things that can be worked on so it can be fluid and you can be in that space, but talk about it.
Yeah, and talk about it with people who can help, right?
Exactly.
So if you're a married woman, you probably not going to get great benefit from talking to your single girlfriend who's still, you know, chasing a whole bunch of dudes and trying to live in the single life, right? They can't give you, there's a scripture that my wife shared with me. It's called, there is, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. Right? But the multitude of people with experience, that's why you create a board of directors.
Right.
Here are people in your same profession doing the same thing that you're doing here, live through the trial and the failure point, which leads to success. So they've got those nuggets to share, right? So, you know, don't pick up, you know, pearls in a swine pool.
No,
right?
That's
you
the
know,
worst place.
Listen, they're not gonna go good around your neck.
Not gonna look good, smell good,
nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
That is a hot mess, is what it is. However, but you know, you have to value your conversations.
Right.
And who you're having those conversations with. I love surrounding myself with married women. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm divorced now, the thing is, there are gems, there are priceless pearls when you are having conversations with women who's been married 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Mm-hmm. Because they've been around the block quite a few times, and the things that you or I may be struggling in, they've already done. So to have those conversations when you're not certain about something or something that you feel that you don't have the answers to, talk to them. But more than anything else, I'm a praying girl. I pray first and wait to receive what God has for me to do or to say in that space, staying true to that in the word. However, he also aligns you with people that can give you things that are within moments like that. But having girlfriends that are single, that is not the answer, because if they've never been married, they can't have marriage conversations.
It can't. And, and I'm not saying that there aren't some pearls of wisdom, but, listen, when it's hard and it's difficult and things are not going well, you turn to them. They got a different perspective. They don't have the understanding of the investment of family inside of a marriage.
Exactly.
And it's one of the reasons why, in our families, we used to go to grandma, grandpa, whoever. Yeah. And if they stayed together for, 10, 20, 30, 40 years,
right.
Listen, you could trust and believe. You may not know the dirt, right? But there probably was some dirt.
Absolutely. Right? It wasn't aired.
Our generation is a little different than the previous generations. They didn't talk to us. They kept us in a state. You're the daughter. You're the granddaughter.
Exactly.
And they didn't talk to us like we talk to our children now.
No.
And we didn't. So we didn't have access to information. You know what I mean? And so when we don't take the advantage, if you've got to listen, it doesn't have to be your grandmother. It could be a grandmother, as long as she's been married for a long time. If you're trying to
has that information, right?
Right.
That's vital.
When you're going to the pastor and you're putting the pastor in your business, listen. You know what? Somebody's going to say, "Oh, Lennox, you went a little too far." I'm gonna go that far though. Listen, every pastor is not leading the flock well.
Thank you.
Right. And so if dude is doing dirt, right, in your congregation, he's probably not the person that you should take your wife to.
I'm not even in the congregation.
Listen. Well, you know what? Listen.
I understand.
People stay because, listen, and the messenger has a very important part in the life of the word, right?
True.
He can deliver the word, understand the word, from an educator point of view. But if he has not aligned his life to the word, it's a dangerous proposition. So you don't lead your wife or your mate to that environment. So you got, you have to have good counsel.
Exactly.
You have to have good counsel, and so, I look at the different opportunities that I have to continue to learn and to continue to develop and continue to, be as good as I can in my life going forward. I have a song that's on this project called 7 Lives to Live. That begs the question, if I had 7 lives to live, right, what would I do with them? Well, I would be a better man. I would spend more time with family.
Yes.
I would love more. I would pray more. I would, involve myself in a charity, expecting nothing else in return. You know what I mean? And I would and I would be present in the moment. Like I keep this thing over my left shoulder because it reminds us that be in the moment.
Yes.
Right? I used to find myself complaining about where I wasn't, as opposed to understanding that right in the moment where I am, I was meant to be in this moment and to have a relationship with this moment.
It's beautiful and it's precious, it's priceless, and you'll never have it again. And you have to be conscious and in alignment. That's why, I do what I do. Granted, I'm an author. However, I'm also a conscious lifestyle strategist. And that is the only song that I want to sing. Love conscious, be aligned with yourself. And if you can be yourself fabulously in alignment, then you are actually living. And to live is embracing life. And that's living in freedom every day. So if you're not in freedom every day, to release yourself to be present, because the past isn't going to help you this very moment. And then having, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have this very moment inspirations. I'll pop on at any given time of the day, and I want to give you 10, 15 minutes or so of inspiration to soar you in it, because it's vital. We get so caught up in our everydays, we forget to live in it. Because you're looking forward to something else, or you're stuck in yesterday. What are you going to do?
I tell myself, so I have on a shirt right here that says, I don't know if you guys can see it, it says never later.
Never later.
Never later. right? Later is not promised.
No.
I mean, contextually, look what happened in the news that we received as a country. This young man, Kobe Bryant, 41 years old, right? With his life ahead of him, a wonderful career path, a family,
Absolutely.
friends, blah, 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 and
Right.
gone, right?
Time.
I'm telling you, if that wasn't something, even in his passing, it was an inspirational moment. I'm telling you, I got up this morning, I was doing my rehearsals for the different songs, and I was like, listen, there is nothing excellent that's going to happen without excellent execution.
There it is.
Nothing.
Right.
And so when you find that thing that you're passionate about,
do it.
That thing that, I'm not overly spiritual. I'm dang sure not overly religious.
Right.
But I do believe that God gave everybody something. Something that he wanted them to do that calls to you.
Your birthright gift. Yeah.
That thing that calls to you that you would do for free if you could, that you could,
This is it. This is it. Oh my gosh.
And if you don't, at the end of your time, right, you're going to look back and you're going to say, I wish I should have, I could have, right? And that's what has spurred me into this direction too. For a very long time I was a corporate professional, and demanding a great amount of money to work for somebody else, and then I left because I saw that they did not want to win. Right.
So important.
It's incredible. It's incredible. They spent a lot of money on me to help them win it, but they didn't want to win. And I believe in me, and I believe in what God has placed in me. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I plan to live my life doing that and continue to be happy doing it.
And that's why you will absolutely love and continue doing well in what it is, because it's that seed that was planted in you long before you were even planted in your mother's womb. I mean, it goes back to scripture. We all have that birthright gift. Again, that's what I do. I have you or anyone else, and that's my slogan. I introduce you to yourself. It's awakening the gift that God has given you, and to truly live by it. And if nobody else as example is living that, I can say I am. You can say you are. Definitely Kobe Bryant. He mastered it to the maximum. That's when when you wake up and you're in alignment of that thing that God gave you, that birthright gift, that thing that nobody can take from you. You see it, you feel it, you're living it, you believe it, you become it. And when you become it, now that's freedom. We all know that day that we're born. We celebrate it, constantly celebrating it. However, we never know when expiration is going to take place. That we don't know until it happens. So therefore, all we have is that dash in the middle. And I write about the dash in here. Living your destiny. And it's not a long time. It could be 41 years. It could be 100 years. It can be 38 weeks when it comes to my son. I mean, he never took breath outside of my womb. And that's what the gist of my book is about. However, at the same time, he lived 38 weeks there. However, Kobe's daughter, 13 years old. We do not know how much time we have. So why not make the best and beauty and take advantage of that every single day? Rather than, like you said, you left corporate America, I left corporate America, because we have that burning sensation inside. We know it's something more. We know it's something that we're supposed to do. We have a responsibility in the world. And it doesn't take someone to be religious or overly spiritual, like you're saying. No, that's something that you are born with. And there is a Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and you're part of that, being the Spirit. We all have that. So listen to it and be who you were born to be and be fabulous at it. And stamp it for what it is. Make your mark. So whenever you leave, when it's time to go, your memories are grand.
Listen, and my trailing thought to that is that, I believe that we were all put here for some very specific things. One, to love God.
Yes.
To love yourself, to love somebody else, and to be loved.
Yes.
right? And the
Yes.
rest of everything else you do is a distraction until such time when you check out of the Me Too,
Right.
right? Because the Me Too is just a
Yeah.
vessel. It's just, right? We are not this
Lead
thing that
sometimes.
decays,
Right.
right? So and along your journey, that part where I said to be loved and to love, you find somebody of an equal yoke. Folks used to say that you got to
Yes,
be equally yoked, right? That
definitely.
means, if you're driven, right, you got to find somebody who's driven. If you're Valerie and you find a guy who don't want to get up in the morning, just wants to, he's okay with, collecting bottles and cashing the bottles,
Mm-hmm.
and that's his thing. God bless, because everything is for everybody, but that may not be for you.
Right.
And so if you marry a person who's, not kind of on the same level or where you want to be, listen, I'm a big fan of marrying up as well, right? And dating up,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
The, the fact that you're hippie, you're curvy, you're beautiful is sensational. God bless. And I wouldn't have it any other way,
Yeah.
right? But I don't date down. I
No.
don't date below my station. And what I mean by that is that, I'm educated, I'm intelligent, I'm uh, I've got great integrity. I'm a
Right,
family guy.
right,
I have dreams and aspirations, and I execute against them. Right. So
right.
it doesn't mean that if you're uneducated, um, that I wouldn't have found you attractive. I would have just known that we're probably not going to jive well because maybe our goals may not be the same ultimately, or the drive to get there, and I want to do a service to my family and to your family, you know what I mean? So we can kind of go up the road together, live happily together, achieve together, and be our best selves.
Right.
It's important.
We all have our preferences and we
Yeah.
know what it is. But, at the end of the day, looking at what your true standards are. And to me, standards are the things that you cannot take with. You can take love, you can take, all of the joys that you've had in
Mm-hmm.
life. And when you can
Mm-hmm.
align yourself with somebody who can add to your happiness and your joy, someone who's going to
Mm-hmm.
add and be an asset to your life, not one that's going to constantly keep you depleted, then you have to look at that for what it is. Because being, equally yoked, it takes work. And
Right.
love is the basis of it all. However, at the same time, it's going to take work to maintain that. And you're
Right.
going to have tons of conversations and make sure as you grow, you're growing together. Those types
Right.
of open-ended conversations that's going to be there all the time to make sure that you are sincerely with the right person. And you tend to know that because a lot
Right.
of people divide at that fork in the road because they grow apart.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing his thing, she's doing her thing, however, not doing enough together, not asking those questions. How are you today? What is the changes that you can see in your life this year? And I love to ask that. How are you changing? What are you
Mm-hmm.
changing and moving toward? Like, what is your
Mm-hmm.
heart saying to you to do? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
not feasible for us to stay in the same space. However, we can grow together. And that's also growing up, because you have to choose someone who wants to soar with you rather than having that ball and chain that's going to keep you down on one side and
Yeah.
aspiring to go up
Yeah. Yeah.
on
It's
the
important.
other.
It's important. Right. So,
Yes,
so earlier you said that you were divorced, right?
yes.
So where do you see love in your life? The
Oh, I'm
next,
excited about it.
yeah.
I'm
How do,
excited
so
about it.
how do you get from where you are to where you want to be?
To get from where I am to where I know I shall be is
Yeah.
because of learning from things that's already taken place in my life
Right.
and being grateful for all the things I've overcome and taking the time out to reassess myself and understand who I am today versus someone that when I was 25,
Mm-hmm.
and or 23 when all of this
Mm-hmm.
took place, 23, 24, and different things that took place on throughout the years throughout 2017, 2016, 17. So it's different things that took place all of those times that
Mm-hmm.
I've learned about myself and reassessing and going back into memory of who I used to be at
Mm-hmm.
the same time. So the woman that I am now, the lady all the time, is completely different than the young lady I was at 23,
Mhm.
24, and the transitions along the way, because the learning experiences have been just that. It taught me a lot. I taught
Mhm.
myself, I learned from others, and understanding that everybody is not meant to be in your life. And it's true when it's said that some people come into your life to teach you something, or
Mhm.
you're teaching them something. However, once
Mhm.
you learn that lesson, cut the strings, let it go. Stop holding on to individuals. And I know that was one of the things, because it's someone amazing, I want them to stay around. But
Right.
then the ones that aren't so great, I have learned how to let those people go. So looking at that and putting me to where I am in the space of love and being excited about it, because I've done the work
Mhm.
between me and the Lord that I serve, and know I'm ready for the right person, can identify.
So identifying the right person. I remember, when I was becoming separated, I really, Valerie, when I tell you, I didn't know what was going to happen next, because I never saw life without the person that I was with. I didn't know it literally. I mean, I literally could not conceptualize not being
That's
part
heavy.
of. It was, so, but I knew it was happening. And I
Yes,
knew that this change, like that song, Sam Cooke song, a change is going to come.
it's
The change
coming.
was coming. It was on a big bus rolling right down the middle of my house.
Woo!
And I had to figure out what was next.
Right.
Right. I literally, and I'm responding to you saying I've been able to identify, right?
Yes.
I created a little list of, well, here's where I am, and here's what would make me happy. Like, you can't get happy from somebody else. You got
No.
to bring your own happy and
Inside
share
out. Yes.
their happiness, right?
Yes. It's a
So I
joint.
wrote this. I wrote this 3-page manifesto that I used to carry with me all the time.
Hold on a
And
second. I think your microphone is rubbing on your.
is
There
that
you
better?
go. Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
So I had this manifesto that I carried with me all the time, and it talked about what was going to take to make me happy. Like, I knew what unhappy was, because I
Yes.
was dead smack in the middle of it, right? And I had to conceptualize everything.
Whew.
Like, okay, where was I going to live? Splitting the finances was no longer an option, so I had to assess that as well. I had to assess,
Yes.
well, what kind of mate would make me happy? What's the personality like? How do they resolve conflict? Are they open to getting it over quickly in terms of the disconnect? It was so many things that I had to literally think about, and it's hard. Do you ever meditate?
All the time.
Okay, listen, it is hard to shut your brain down from thinking about all the things that you have to do, right? Because, you're sitting there and you think, okay, I'm going to really just kind of get into my zone, and I'm going to, concentrate on
Not that
me.
easy. Mm-hmm.
Bills come in, work comes in, the kids come in, friends come in, crap comes in, and it's hard to still your mind,
Right.
right? It took
Right.
me days to still my mind, and when I could get it still, I'd write these things down. And I'm telling you, it helped me identify. I knew where I was,
Yes.
but I wrote that down also,
Yes.
so I could compare and contrast from, wow, this is the hot mess that I've created,
Mm-hmm.
and or I am participating in, and this is the cool running stream that I'd like to get to,
That's
right?
beautiful. Yes.
And I had to
That's that peace.
identify. It is, and I had to identify what that looked like. So when I met people who I was going to entertain to be in my life, right, that I had to know that when I met them, yeah, you line up with most of these things. Like, nobody's perfect, and nobody's expected
Right.
to be perfect.
Right.
But the majority of the things that are the big salient points, right? There
Yes.
was some, we're not going past here if you're doing that.
Deal
You
breakers.
complete deal breakers,
Yes.
and everybody has their own. You got to
Yes.
know what's good for you. But it was helpful for me to identify, what I needed, because what I'm telling you, in the matter of separation and divorce, I was so lost.
Ooh,
I
that's a new day.
never ever contemplated that. And, you know, I heard Will and Jada Smith talk about something, and Jada said, like, listen, no matter what happens, we can live with other people in this house, we can do whatever, but I'm telling you right now, we're going to be together. And that's how I feel.
It's a choice. You have to choose that.
Love is a choice.
Yes, sure is.
Right? It's a responsibility and a
Yes,
choice. Like, you know, I will be with my wife until I drop the meat suit.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm developing a great love and harmony with her, and she with me as well. And like you say, love is a choice, and it's intentional.
It sure is.
Right? It wasn't a mistake when you fell into somebody else's between their legs. That wasn't a mistake. No. You made a choice that you didn't.
Conscious choice.
You made a choice, and you didn't value what you had, and because you didn't value it, you lost it.
Right.
Right. And so you got to make choices, you know, to will your life in the direction that you want it to be in.
Exactly.
You know, and it's not only guys, women too. Women make
absolutely
some horrible choices, and they impact us terribly sometimes. You know, and then when we stand up and say, "Hey, foul," you know, the chips fall where they may, but we have to be, you know, loving and responsible adults to ourselves to give us the best chance of being as happy as we can be.
Yes, and be accountable for every action that you take in your life. Being mindful of the people that you choose to include in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because once you make that decision, the damage that it can cause, it changes your direction. It changes who you are as an individual. You have to be mindful of that. And mentioning distractions early on in the conversation. Distractions can keep you away from that focus of where you're supposed to be in alignment as well.
You know, and we talked before coming into the session, so we were backstage just having a great old conversation, you know, and I can tell you, and I'm talking to your ladies, and I'm talking to brothers who may be listening. Listen, you can make mistakes, and you can recover.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you have to throw away your family, right? One of the things that we adults take into consideration, but don't truly understand, is that the impact to the rest of the family, to the trajectory of the family, because you are together and you are present, and your children are hearing mom's voice, and they're hearing father's voice, they're hearing the combined voice together, and they take cues. And when you break the family, you know, they can still hear, if you're wise enough to not, you know, make it so distemperate that you can't speak and love into each other. I was very fortunate that I was I was able to continue a love with my ex, and I continue it still, and with my sons.
Right.
It was incredibly important to me. But there is collateral impact and damage that happens to those little people.
And it affects them in their decisions as well, moving forward, because of what they see and hear.
It affects them even in the moment.
Right.
Because they don't know, right? They're not making part of the choice of like, hey, my thing was mom and dad. What happened? Why did mom left dad right?
Yes.
Right? And so it's a big and heavy responsibility, you know. So if somebody has made a mistake, if somebody has made a bad choice, and that bad choice has impacted you negatively, you don't have to burn down the beach for that one grain of sand.
Right.
Handle the one grain of sand.
Like
focus on that. Listen, it may be that you have to take that one grain of sand and put it on the shelf, and the rest of the beach is okay. For right now, right. And you come back to it when you have gained the experience and the intellect to deal with it.
Yes, please.
Right?
Please wait on it.
You know, and not to open yourself to abuse or harm. Say, hey, you know, you got to have a standard. Say, hey, listen, that is a no-go.
Yeah, unacceptable.
But I've got love, and I've got an investment in this. And for the benefit of me, of you, and my children, and my family, of which you're part, you know, I'm
willing to work on that. Yes. Let's work on it, figure it out.
It's an important thing.
There's no reason to turn and run, you know, because of something so small, because the grass is not greener on the other side.
I'm telling you, the grass is turf.
It's turf, and the streets are rough. So
believe that.
Please know what you're doing before you do, and being mindful in your relationships, because For those who have gone through divorce, it's not something I choose to do beyond the one. And it wasn't something that I select to do the first time. However, it goes back to making those choices and being in a space in your life and knowing exactly what you want. People get married for different reasons. Make sure those reasons why you get married are going to be reasons why you choose to stay. But, you know, as Lennox was saying, if it's something that's abusive, that's something that's toxic, and you know that it's affecting your lives, or it's affecting your children's lives, and of course you do the right thing. That's going to be best for your life. However, if it's something that you've chosen, you've made a decision to be in this space, and it wasn't something that, well, let's put it this way, you could have made a better choice to not do, then you're going to reap the benefits and the repercussions of that.
And be easy. Just make better choices.
Yeah,
Be
better
easy.
choices are
Right.
necessary,
That's
you know,
all.
because I had no business.
Yeah.
Had no
Yeah.
business getting married. I was just ready. I had my own intentions, my own plans. And I said, you know what? No, he's good. He loves me more than I love him. Because, you know, those are things that you have to be mindful of conversations as well. I remember older people saying, always, girl, let me tell you, you're pretty. So make sure you get somebody that loves you more than you love him, and then he'll give you the world. And that's not true. That's not true, because you better have some love in that. And now, don't get it wrong, I did love my ex-husband. There's a difference between loving and being in love. I loved him. And yeah, the chicken came to roost.
Hey, listen, you know,
It came to roost. And it wasn't worth it in the end. However, I'm grateful for all of the experience of what I learned in that to know what not to do again. Please don't marry somebody for that.
Yeah, experience teaches you a world of benefit, you know, and, you know, most importantly, you just want to find a love that you can grow into. Sometimes you have to grow into the love, right? You have to grow into it because, you know, and that means learning to depend on each other, learning to be for each other, you know, not being selfish in the way that I was talking about earlier. I'm talking about somebody who's going to love and nurture you, your hopes, your passions, you know, somebody that's going to be willing to
make
bend
sure
for
it's
you.
mutual. That has to be mutual. And when it's one-sided, that scale isn't balanced. You know, it's a number of things that you have to read and know about fairy tale to hell. But at the same time, you know, great person just wasn't the one for me. Even though I made the decision, I loved him enough to stay. But it's twists and turns in that.
Did you call it fairy tales to hell? Is that what you said?
Mr. Fairy Tale to Hell.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
It is. It is. Right. You know, because you can choose to stay with someone. I will say this about this piece in that chapter. When you're in a situation and you love the person enough to work it out. However, when things have gotten to the point of where it's irreconcilable differences, you have to think about your joy and your health and what your health looks like in this, and then in your spirituality, what you're believing in this, you know, like, okay, well, I chose to do this. We're here now. However, I was sick. I was just absolutely sick in it. And to the point to where I was beginning to despise him, you know, at the same time. And it's so much, you have to read it. I can't even give all that away. But at the same time, he was amazing at the same time, loving and kind. Again, wasn't for me. And I think it was a lot of secrets that I did not know in the beginning that I learned on the back end. But what my boss said to me when we first separated, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to fix it. And I'm talking to him about what's going on because he was a great counselor at the time. You know, I worked with an amazing company. So my boss said to me, he said, Valerie, you know, sometimes we can work so hard on keeping something together that God has clearly given us an out from. That was powerful because I had to stop in that moment and realize this was my out that I prayed for. This was it. You know, and I'm going to leave it at that. So, so at the same time, be mindful of where you are, assess it, pray about it, and just know that God's going to give you the answers in the midst of a decision that you made that you know you had no business making. when
Yeah.
you know you had no business doing it and you still love him enough to stay there. And he knew that you loved him enough to stay there and would do certain things to keep you there. Mm-hmm.
Growth,
I want to
life,
draw the, yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Isn't it eye
Yeah.
opening? But
Yeah.
it's growth. It's that fertilizer to grow. That's what the experiences are. We can make the choices, but fertilizer is necessary when we're being nurtured to grow. And
Right.
when we become ourselves and then we can go back and play those times over in our minds, then it helps us to make better decisions moving forward, because those are situations that you're not willing to go through a secondary time, a third time, fourth time. You know, even though you have people that have had multiple
Listen,
marriages,
listen.
but that's their choice.
You see the issues a lot earlier than you did when you had no experience. So you can pull the plug early. Like,
Honey,
not for me.
yes,
Right.
yes. And do
Right.
it with a smile and
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
grace. Being a lady all the time. It's so important to be a lady or be a gentleman in the midst of these moments, because you don't want to burn the bridges. You have to make those decisions when you have other people involved, and you have
Certainly.
to be cordial and responsible
Right.
and, you know, do what you have to do. But it's not something that I plan on doing again. So love now and putting in the work and investment into myself and just putting myself over on isolation island. Oh, it was all necessary to
Right.
reassess and to understand who I am, what I'm willing to accept, what I'm not willing to accept, and what this person looks like. I will definitely recognize him when the time comes. But at the same time, making sure that I'm qualified just as he's qualified to even be in the relationship at the time. You have to
That's
make
right.
sure.
Right.
Know
Beautiful.
this.
Well said.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Because, you know, you and I can go. We can go
Right.
and just unlayer all sorts of things.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, love is what it is. It's beautiful. It's worldwide. We all want it. We need it. We're looking for it. And it has to start within ourselves.
It does.
It
Love is
starts with
everything.
loving
Everything is
yourself. Right.
everything is connected to making sure that you have a great love for your heart
Honey,
and your home. Yeah.
it's so, none of us can make it without it. Put
Yeah.
it that way.
Right.
And if
And
we face it,
if you don't have love at home,
yeah.
like where is if you're not safe at home, like if you don't have a home base, remember you used to play tag and you get back to home base and you were
Yes.
safe until you let it
Yes.
go?
Yes.
Right? Love has got to be that safety space.
Yes.
Right? So you create that love at your home and it'll refuel you. So when you go out to, to meet the world's challenges, you go out full and
Constant.
fully armored. And you know that if I could just make it back to home to love, I'll be cool.
You're restored again.
Here we go.
And it starts inside of you, it blossoms out, and you're attracting what it is that you need and those vital things that make you who you are. And continually, you know who you are, you know the investments that you put into yourself, and you're not going to attach yourself to somebody that can tear you back down. The investment that you put so much in to build up. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense at all. So, just keep yourself surrounded with the people that love you, for you, protect you, and want the best for you, because these are the exact same things that you're, sowing into them as well. But when you're talking about picking a partner for your life, be specific, be intentional, be conscious and alignment within that to make sure that you are just as much as an asset to him as he is to you.
Perfect.
Those types of things.
Beautiful. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know you have, can I be honest, as a track that's really hot. And what would you say? This is what I'm going to say to you. Coming from a divorce, being a divorcee, we've both been divorced. You are privileged and blessed to have a beautiful wife. You've learned from so many things. For you to be Lennox Armstrong today, what would you say to Lennox Armstrong, or any man or woman that's viewing, any Sparrow? What would you say to Lennox Armstrong as a divorced man before you met your current wife? What would you
You know,
say
I
to
have a
that person?
song, I have a song called We Can't Go On Living This Way.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lyric in there that says, you know, I would tell my younger self, don't break her heart. That encapsulates everything that would go with the explanation, but just don't break her heart.
Mm. You may have to acapella that one. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's a necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I'm putting together an excursion now for divorcees to
Mm-hmm.
unlayer all of the things that were unmentioned
Mm-hmm.
during the marriage, to
Mm-hmm.
fix all of the roots of all of these things before you decide to jump back out there again. Because there's a
Right,
lot of things that has to be repaired
right.
to make you qualified to
Yeah.
even tackle that again. So I'm so excited about this excursion. And it's specific for divorcees,
Mm-hmm.
specific women the first time. However, what you just said is powerful.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
That broken heart
that is,
can really
that is
damage.
that is the specific thing that I would tell my younger self.
Yeah.
You know, it's the specific thing that I've told my sons.
Yes.
Like, if you want a love that's going to last, you're responsible to it and for it. And as the leader in the family, God has given you a responsibility, and that responsibility includes the protection and safeguarding of your family,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And not breaking her heart is a protection,
It sure is.
right? She can, even if she is far from perfect, right? If she trusts you and know that you'll take care of her, right? She
Changes
can
the
grow.
game.
She
Yes,
can
it
grow.
changes
Listen,
everything.
her roots can stay dug in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and can be watered and loved and nurtured. But when you break her heart and you break the trust, you know, it's hard for her.
Yeah,
I mean, she's
it
only,
starts dying
listen,
off.
listen, she's very likely a wonderful person, or you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be with her anyway,
Right,
right?
right.
So if you want to save it, don't do it. Don't break her heart. That's what I swear. That's what I would tell me. If I could
Love
time
it.
portal back, I would be like, dude, listen to your older self. Trust me when I tell you on this one.
I love that you said that.
Yeah,
Listen to your older self,
yeah,
talking to
yeah.
your younger self.
That's right.
Because
Believe
if
it.
we could have those previews in advance, change everything.
Listen, and that's why families should stay together.
Yeah.
Because now, right, as Lennox, this point in my life, I talk to my young sons and I say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a 30-year leap, right? I'm going to tell you something today that you may not use for another 5 years.
Mm.
But I don't know if I'm going to be here in 5 years. I hope to be.
Right.
I'm going to tell you now, because if you trust me and you listen to me, I can help you avoid the calamity of divorce. Don't break her heart, right? Don't marry her if you're not ready,
Exactly.
right? Take your time. Find
Yes.
somebody that you're compatible with, and you'll know. Like if at the end of the day you're going, thank God I'm going to Jupiter now, she's probably not the one,
Exactly.
right? But if
It's
you know,
true.
it takes time to know that person like that. So for divorcees or folks who are thinking about getting married, you know, there's no rush to
Mm-hmm.
find the right love. Love happens in the time that it's supposed to,
It
and
sure
it's
does.
ordered. There's a process, right? Um,
Beautiful.
uh, and I'm speaking specifically to you, beautiful black sparrows.
Yes.
Women would say to me, "Oh, but I'm giving you my most valuable possession," meaning their vagina.
Mm-mm.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Your soul is your crown,
Thank you.
right? It
Yes.
is the part that connects the two of us,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's the part that when divorce is happening, the reason why it's a tragedy and it feels like your soul is breaking, not your heart, it feels like your soul is breaking.
It sure
It's
is.
because God intended it that way.
Right.
Like, it's not supposed to be easy to walk away.
Soul ties.
The real things. That's my thought on that. That was a hell of a question.
Yeah. Because
Right.
it's the beauty of it. Because we always go back in our minds and say, you know what, if I had known this then, if I
Right.
had known. So it's always something that we can share with others, like you share with your sons. I
Mm-hmm.
share it with anybody who listens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why aren't you married again, Valerie? Because I'm taking my time. I wish I had taken more time before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
important. Yeah.
however, the experience was eye-opening, and it's stories that I can forever share with you in that period of time. However,
Right.
I could live my life not knowing it. However,
Right.
at the same time, things are intended at times for us to go through in order to become who we sit to be or who we stand to be. So if
Absolutely.
I delete any part of my life, which I have absolutely no desire to,
Right.
I'm holding on to all of it and cherishing it because I love the person that I am today because of it. You know,
Beautiful.
so, and I
Yeah.
have stories to share. I have proof. I've had the audacity to write it. And it's going to be 2 more volumes to come. The trilogy, you will understand. For those who don't know me, you will know me.
Right.
Valerie then, Valerie present, and the mindset of Valerie moving forward.
Beautiful.
So those things are vital. Don't ever dismiss things that took place in life, because if you delete any part, you won't be that person you stand to be.
Right.
So we all should have grace in that. But just make life beautiful. It's your decision and how you live it. This very moment, you have opportunity to change anything that needs to be changed.
Right.
Moving forward. Yesterday's gone, present, love on it, but tomorrow is coming. So just be fabulous now.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
know, it's always juicy
Mm-hmm.
when we have opportunity to chat.
That's
I feel
right.
like I've known you for 20 years. I feel like that.
You know, it's always, listen, I have interviews and they don't always go this well, you know, where the dialogue is back and forth the way it is. But yeah, you know, when you
Yes.
find folks who are kind of in the same place, in the same headspace, it makes it easy.
It
Yeah.
does. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful, and
Yeah.
it's just even exchange,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm certain the conversation that we've had today, somebody somewhere needed to hear just that.
Beautiful. I hope it lands somewhere where it's needed.
Oh yeah. They're gonna
Yeah.
remember it. They're gonna
Yeah.
remember it. And you know, we've
Beautiful.
actually talked out. We've talked up an hour. More
Did
than
we?
that, if you include
Wow.
behind.
That might be why my red light is blinking, going, hey, man, if you're going to sing this song, you better sing it now.
Sing it.
Right.
You better sing it. So
Well, this is a
yes, the
song.
treat. Let's hear it.
This is a song from my upcoming music therapy album that'll be coming out in February.
Yes.
And it's called Can I Be Honest?
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to make some technology things happen over here.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay still?
I can hear you okay.
All right. So let me get the track going. Ooh. A man's not supposed to say that we hurt when you throw our love away. But when you leave, oh, we break. When you walk away, you take everything away. Cannot be honest, I was afraid. Cannot be honest, you tore my heart away. Cannot be honest, I don't know if I'm okay. Wrong. A man's not supposed to say, how do I go on? When you go, you strip our soul away. Strip our soul away. Cannot be honest, I was afraid. Cannot be honest, You tore my heart away. I don't know if I'm okay. Now here I stand. Years have passed. I'm still here, holding fast. Still have my children. Still have my soul. I met a new love and I learned to go on. But I've changed. I'm not the fool I used to be. I'm not the fool I used to be. Cannot be honest. I broke my own heart. I knew right from the start. We never had a chance. I wasn't even half a man that I should have been. I don't want to pretend. This is the deepest pain I've ever had before. Can I be honest? I'm sorry and wanted you to know. I'm sorry, baby. That's it.
I love that song.
Thank you.
I absolutely love that song. It's empowering, it's freeing, it's sharing.
And it's emotional when I sing that. I'm fighting back the feelings all the whole way through. Like, okay, come on, just go with it. Stay with the words.
Oh man, it's heavy. It's heavy. And appreciated when you can have that conversation after the fact. You know,
it took some growing to get to that point.
Yes.
To be able to have that conversation with yourself and to put it in front of the person that heart was broken.
Yes.
So it takes time to get there, and I'm there.
Wow. That's evolvement.
Yeah,
Next level. It is. Love it. Now,
wonderful.
Thank you for singing.
You're welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. And I know the music therapy is about to release in February. Now,
That's right.
It can be purchased on your website, or where
sure.
can you be contacted?
You can pre-order it now at lennoxarmstrong.com. That's Lennox Armstrong.com. And in February, actually 24th is when it'll be out. It'll be on all streaming platforms. You can get anywhere where you consume music today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And of course, that's your website as well. So you can be contacted there for any reason at all. And it's a fabulous website. I love it.
Yep.
Your photo gallery is amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
It is.
Yep.
As well as the music that you share, just to have those just clips of each song. That's appreciated.
Yeah. And your folks can come to my Facebook page, Music by Lennox.
Great.
And follow it, and here are the new up and coming events and so forth. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. I appreciate you. And it's the second time around, but the first time it was too juicy for Facebook.
Right. It worked. This time it worked. Technology worked with us, right? There you go. Thank you so much again.
You are quite welcome. I look forward to other engagements. And like I said, it's going to be some things, Girl Talk Guys too. When I come to Atlanta, I would love to have you as a part of that panel.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of your experience and your voice is powerful. And it's nice to have someone who's had different types of experiences and speak so fluent in it, and have grown so much, and to be an artist on top of it. So
wonderful.
I'm excited about that. So on that note, our time has come to wrap up Matters of the Heart Monday. And it's just outright juicy to the 10th power. And it was all because of just a connection between you and I and everything that's to come. Life is amazing. And with
Yes.
that said, I want to say love without conditions, always possess a positive attitude, and soar in all you do. Love you, Nina. Smooches.
Ciao.
Ciao.